Let's start off with graphing inequality. Oh no, graphing absolute value here. Okay, so here's where you left off before, is that there were these absolute value functions that were this V shape. Okay, this absolute value bars on each side. Okay, you had the two axes, the two variables x and y, so you can graph, and you had these three other parameters, h, k, which were like the vertex. Okay, so like here, you can see h and k are both 0. That's why the vertex of the absolute value is at 0, 0. Okay? And we had this other number, which is like the slope. So what we learned was what these three, or first of all, what these two numbers, how they change the graph, right? And we start off with the h, which is the number on the inside. Okay? And it turned out that if we made this number like -6 in the inside, say it's x minus 6, then it actually moved the graph 6 to the right, which was kind of weird, right? Because you'd think a -6 would move it to -6 over here, but it moved it the opposite direction. So that was the first thing that was kind of different about these. Okay, right? Positive moved it to the left. So the number on the inside of the absolute value acted kind of like we thought it would, moves it left and right, but then it moved in the different direction we thought it would. The k, on the other hand, negative did move it down, and positive did move it up. Okay, so whatever number's on the outside does move it up and down, as we would expect. Okay, and finally, the last number we looked at was a, the number on the inside, I mean on the front, and that was kind of like a slope. So a negative slope opened down, a positive slope opened up. Okay? And the bigger the number, the steeper the slope, the skinnier the graph got. Okay? So that's where we started off. First, figure out what the vertex is. Where does that start? And then use the slope to graph the two arms here. Okay? So let's start that first. So let's say here on number 1, first identify the vertex. Right? So we have vertex right here. I'm just going to write it out, vertex. There we go. And remember, it's right here, h, k. But it's always the opposite of what you think from the inside. So if this is a positive 2 right here, then the vertex is actually at -2. Okay? So -2. And this one is -2 as well. So vertex is at -2, comma -2. Which means from the origin, go left 2 and down 2. From the origin, left 2 and down 2. And then use the a value, right, the number on the front here. We're going to put it over 1, right? That means up to right 1, or left 1. So it's both directions. So up to over 1, up to over 1, up to over 1, right? Slope, but over in the other direction as well. It's a symmetrical mirror image on another. Never mind the straight lines over here. And then, of course, using a straight edge only, you can solve it. So those were the steps for graphing absolute value. And please always use a straight edge for every graph. Everybody that's in here kind of knows that already, but if you're not, I guess I will not accept your homework and really make you do it over until you use a straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler, but just like your ID card can make a straight edge, or hold a piece of paper that can make a straight edge. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it does have to be straight. Okay, one more, then I'll let you guys finish the front. So let's look at number 2. So here we have the vertex. Label this. Okay. vertex is at, right here, -1. Remember, it's the opposite. So it's +1, it's going to be a -1. And here it's going to be +2, the same. So we have -1, 2. So that's going to be left 1, up 2. Left 1, up 2. So we'll go left 1, up 2. There's our vertex. Okay. Vertexes. And then we can use this number right here in front. -2 will be down, and the 1 on the bottom will be left and right. So we got from here down to right 1, down to left 1, and so on. And using straight edge, go ahead and negative down, positive up. So you kind of already know what the graph's going to, at least which direction is going to open right away just from the very beginning. Is that positive sign or a positive non-negative number here? No, up. Negative here, no. All right, so go ahead and finish the rest of the front. And I'll come around and check here. Okay, next part is the solving. So let's see. So we can do this. So going back to here, we did do this by graphing. If you covered this in your first semester, we did do this from graphing first. Okay, so let me show you what the graphing looks like so you can remember what it is we're actually doing. Let's see here. Okay, so like for number 7, okay, we'll have absolute value of x, right? Make it a little darker here. There we go. And we had something like y equals 2, I think it was, right? Equals 2. So this is like number 9, right? And the answer here is, where do these intersect? Okay. So we have 1 right here and 1 right here. So you can see the answer here graphically is -2 and 2. So that's the problem we're trying to solve, but without the graphing. Okay. So another way of thinking about though is the absolute value of what equals +2? Well, the absolute value of -2 equals +2, and the absolute value of +2 equals +2. So our answers here are, of course, the x's, right? The two x coordinates, -2, +2. Okay. So this is what we're trying to do, but without the actual graph. And it is possible to have different types of answers. Let's see if it works here. I did it again. Let me get this set up. It is possible to have different types of answers. As you can see here, there is still 2 answers, right? And if I move the line up and down, yeah, there's 2 answers, one on the left side, one on the right side. So most of the time we do have 2 answers. But it is possible if the 2 intersect at the vertex that there's only 1 answer, right? It's also possible if the horizontal line is below the graph that there's no solution. There's no solution here at all. So you have 3 different types of answers. So you can have 2 answers, you can have 1 answer, but you can have no solution as well. And you can see it's when the line is negative because you can't take the absolute value of any number and get a negative answer, right? Absolute value of 2 is 2. Absolute value of -2 is +2. There's no way to take an absolute value and get a negative answer, so it makes sense that there's no solution and there's no intersection. So this is what we're trying to do, but without the graphing. And this is why you get a lot of times 2 answers. We're going to focus mostly on the problems that you get 2 answers here, but there's other possibilities. Okay, so let's go back to here. Okay, and the beginning is when you have only absolute value. Okay? You have only absolute value. So this is asking absolute value of what 2 numbers equals +2, and we just solved that. But the way we actually show the work here is that, okay, once we have all the stuff around the absolute value taken care of, which there isn't here. When we get down here, there's like a +4 on the outside and a times 2 on the outside. We have to take care of that first. But once you get to this point where you have only absolute value, you can break it up into 2 parts because there's 2 sides of that graph. One's positive, okay, and one is negative. So this is after you've taken care of everything else. And sometimes you're going to have something to solve here, other times not. So for this particular problem, it's already finished. We have our answer. And we use the braces here to write the answers. 2 and negative 2. Do not use parentheses, use braces. You only use parentheses when your answer is 2 different variables, like x equals this and y equals this. Our answers here are both r equals, right? So you don't want to use parentheses because that would mean like r equals this, s equals this, 2 different variables. Use braces, that's only used for one variable. Okay? R equals both of those numbers. 2 different answers. The order here is not too important if you put negative 2 and positive 2. Not too important from here in algebra 1. When you guys get to algebra 2, you'll have like 4 or 5 answers, and then you always do least to greatest. Let's move down to number 9. Very similar, that we don't have anything on the outside of the absolute value of number 9, so you can go straight to just breaking it up into 5 plus n equals 12, positive, and 5 plus n equals negative 12. Again, that's because we have 2 different sides of the graph. We have one on the positive side, one on the negative side. That's why we do this. And solving this, we can't just say we're done because we don't have n equals, so we have to do a little bit of work. Subtract 5 on both sides. And same thing on the other one. The nice thing about these is that the algebra to solve after this point is identical. Meaning, if you have to subtract 5 on both sides on this side, you'll end up doing the same thing on this one as well. The only thing different is, right, one's positive, one's negative, but the algebra is going to be identical. So we get 0 here, n equals 7, okay? And 5 minus 5 is 0, n equals negative 17. And of course, you use braces, negative 17, 7. And the more you practice making those braces, the easier it gets. First, okay, so this is actually what we just did on 7 9 is the second part of most problems. It's the second part of most problems. Okay, so what we're going to do now is actually the first part, which you're usually going to start with, and that's if there's something on the outside of the absolute value. We have to do some work to get rid of this stuff first. Then we can break it up like we did here into 2 parts and get our 2 answers. So our goal is to actually get it so we have only absolute value on the left. Anything else outside of absolute value, we have to kind of get rid of that first, balance it out. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to do anything that's outside, right? That's first adding or subtracting. We're going to get rid of that first, and then anything that's multiplying or dividing, we're going to get rid of that second. So for instance here, we have a plus 2, and we have a times 6. So in this order, we're going to get rid of adding, subtracting first. So get rid of the plus 2, that's first, by making it 0, so subtract 2. That's the first step. It's only on the outside. Okay, so we have 0 here, bring down everything else we didn't use. So we have 6 times the absolute value of k equals 50 minus 2 is 48. That's step 1. Take care of on the outside any adding or subtracting. After, do any multiplying or dividing. So this means right here 6 times k. So we're going to take care of this multiplication by dividing by 6. Both sides. Do the inverse operation. With addition, we subtract. Multiplication by. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. So we have absolute value of k. So we write the 1. Like here, you write the 0. And 48 58 divided by 6, which is 8. And now you can see it looks like number 7. You have only absolute value on the left and a number on the right, and you're basically going to, from here, start doing these steps. So once you get rid of everything on the outside, that's when you move to the inside. Okay? And you do the split. You do one positive and one negative. So here we're going to do k equals 8, and k equals negative. So we're going to take our 8. So, for instance, on number 12, this is right here, what's the first step on number 12? Here's the thing about math. You have to use directions. So if you write this stuff down, it does help. Do that before you think about doing it. Like, I don't know, what do I do on this one? Should I make up something different, or should I do the same steps we did before? Probably start with the same steps before. There's some people that would look at this and say, oh, that looks fun. Let's just subtract those two and make it a negative 11. Someone told me to do that, but I'm going to go for it. Okay? Probably not a good idea straight off. Just stick to the same steps. So let's go through this and follow the steps and see how it works. So start on the outside. Anything being added, subtracted on the outside? Yeah, there's a negative 1. So probably start by adding 1. Right? That's where you want to start. You just do that one thing, right? Just like we did on every other problem so far, don't change a thing. So it does help if you're good at following steps and following directions and not getting some place and saying, well, let's do this one different way. Eventually we can. Okay, next step, take care of multiplying and dividing. So multiplying anything? Yeah, multiplying by negative 10, so divide by negative 10. Positive 1, good. That's the value there. Negative divided by negative? Positive. Right? Again, our steps. Then we can do, since we have nothing on the outside anymore, now we go to the inside, break it up into two parts, one positive, one negative. Right? So n equals positive 4, and n equals negative 4. Works really nice. Follow those steps exactly. Inside, sorry, outside first. Okay. Then when you get to the inside, split it up. Break up the parts. So let's do maybe a few more down below that have some more stuff there. Just 17. Okay, work on the rest. So what's on the outside? Okay, minus 4. Okay. That's one thing. So we can do that, get rid of that by adding 4. And we have a times 8. So we can get rid of that by dividing by 8. That's the first thing. The numbers on the outside. So add 4 to both sides. Good. The heat on the outside there. Absolute value times absolute value of x minus 6 equals 116 plus 4. And 8 times absolute value. Go ahead and inverse operation of multiplying by 8 is divide by 8. Equals 1. Remember, canceling out with adding subtracting means equals 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. Canceling out when you're multiplying and dividing means equals 1. Let's do the thing depending on what you're actually doing. So, absolute value of x minus 8 and 120 divided by 8 is 15. Now we've got rid of everything on the outside. Now you can break it up into two parts. X minus 6 equals positive 15. X minus 6 equals negative 15. This time we have to keep going because we don't have an actual answer yet. So add 6 both sides on both equations. Algebra is always the same at this point. Adding 6 on both. 0. X left over on the left equals 15 plus 6 plus 1. Right. 0. X equals negative 15 plus 6, which is negative 9. Final answer will be 9 and 21 in the braces. Alright, I'll leave that. Yeah. Go ahead and check the rest. Finish up the rest, check with each other, make sure you get the right answers. When you're finished with everything in the back, we're going to go over the answers again, just formally, and then I can give you a homework assignment. If you already finished, or you finished real fast, I can do a quick check and give you a homework assignment earlier. You're all done and learn from them. Okay, so before you say I'm done, please check someone around you and make sure they are indeed